Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 2002 and Doubleshot number 1996. Now, there will be a Metal Heroes review today. Don't worry about that. That'll be coming after my first two anime reviews today, which will be Izuran Shigeru's Dungeon and, of course, also Dotomi's Nagoro. Excuse me. With this one, discussing two X-Men trades. This first one, you have seen the size of the trade size before. When I talk about a book like Marvel, Grand Design for, I think it was Hulk. It was, I think it was X-Men, I think it was. And I think also the Black, White, and Blood books. We have this big, thick book known as Demon Days. That is what this book is called. It is written by Peach Michio. This is a series of, like, a handful of one-shots. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 one-shots of material from King of Black number 4 and Elektra Black, White, and Blood number 4. Now, Demon's one-shots are the following: X-Men, Margo, Cursed Web, Rising Storm, and Blood Feud. Yes. What Peach Michio does is reimagine the X-Men characters as if they were in feudal Japan. And you might be thinking, who was the focus character in these stories? Why, it's Psylocke, of course. Though the book doesn't give a warning that there's images of murder and suicide. Yeah. But this book is just really good. Nothing bad about it. I've never heard anybody say anything about this book. I haven't heard any reviews about this one so far that I can think of. It's not terrible. I found it to be pretty good. I mean, I like the whole feudal era Japan thing for the X-Men, though. Here's the thing. Not the first to explore this. They also explored this with the two miniseries, Wolverine Ronin and X-Men Ronin, which is all set there at the same time period, but this is a different universe. Now, the Elektra Black, White, and Blood book, that's simply Elektra in this universe. All set during feudal Japan. That's most of what the book is. It's just different takes on it, but it's really good. And I do recommend it. I'll give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. There's, however, a sequel to this one called Demon Wars. That was an actual miniseries. Next up is the first of two straight finales, which will have be in this video and the following video. First up we have is Hellions by Zeb Wells Volume 3. And yes, I say finale because this is the end of the series. Yes, containing issues 13 to 18 of Hellions. Okay. So, in the case of this book, pretty much in the way we are wrapping up the series. Though, this series unexpectedly planted the seeds for two crossovers. One that just recently wrapped up, and the other one just started. I'll get to which one of those I talk about the book. So the first part of this book is that the Hellions are rescuing Sinister, who held Cap. That's the first set of issues in here. Next couple issues involves Orphan going to Arizona to deal with some, let's just say, some bigots, and he kills them. And then the last couple issues, by the way, Psylocke, who is Kanan, it's also filled in these issues that Havoc was involved with what happened with Kanan's daughter, which doesn't really get brought up very much. It's like Zeb Wells did not want to bring up Fallen Angels at all. Yeah, here we finally fall up with Fallen Angels because Kanan was looking for a missing daughter. Here it's implied she has something to do with it. So then, of course, also Nanny is, well, you have Orphan being a little bit jealous of him. He's an old robot suit. He looks like an Iron Man ripoff. Yeah, that's the thing with Orphan. He's that guy right there. He looks like a version of Madam Mask and Iron Man. Kanan basically is trying to abandon position as a captain. Yes, she's abandoned position as a captain until what happened with Orphan, and then pretty much by the penultimate issue of the series, the team disbands, and the last couple issues are meant to basically wrap up the series. So in the case of at the risk of Sinister, the team starts falling apart. Now, it is known in the book that Scalp Hunter, John Greymatter, is in love with Kanan because she's hot. And mostly put, Zeb Wells does wrap up a lot of his loose ends with this particular set of issues. It's like he knew the book was getting canceled, so he just basically just did best he could to wrap up every single plot thread while planting seeds for more stuff he would explore in other books. I'll get to that in a minute. So Orphan is found guilty, so he is banished to the pit, which is the same place Sabretooth was banished to at the start of this whole entire Krakatoa stuff. at the finale of the House of X Pirates of X miniseries. He was banished there due to breaking one of Krakatoa's most sacred laws: don't kill human. Orphan did that. Now, this is the third character that I know of that did this happen with. This also happened with Nature Girl. But here's the thing. Krakatoa then put her in her pit. Basically, she and Doug Ramsey decided to just declare an exile. Basically, she's banished from Krakatoa. She's not welcome back. I mean, despite the rest of the X-Men did vote her guilty, what happened during the events of X-Men Green, she did, in fact, she kind of was put into the pit, but Krakatoa did not agree with decision because basically Krakatoa actually liked what she was doing. Just didn't probably like the violent stuff basically she was doing, but this is not exactly similar to that. So Orphan is basically sent with Nanny because it's his nanny. So they can put in the pit and never heard from him again. There's also mention here about the Hellfire Gala, but this actually is the only book, I think the only book not to tie in with Hellfire Gala. Yep, and of course these teams go separate ways. What happens to his characters after the series wraps up? Well, in the case of Mr. Sinister, basically he says that he plants the seeds. We see the start of the planting of the seeds for a crossover that's actually going right now. Sins of Sinister. Yep, he plants seeds for that. And also, Havoc is told to him by Emma Frost that Madeline Pryor is resurrected. Yep, Madeline Pryor is resurrected. And for some reason, they decided to put her in, of all things, her debut attire from back in the 80s. I'm not sure why in the world they did that for, but they did. And then we see look in the mirror, and she's basically the Goblin Queen. What is the point of this, you might ask? Why, it's set up for Dark Web. Yep, planting seeds for that too. Yeah, so Zeb Wells basically made seeds for two major crossovers. Yeah, one for the X-Men and one between both the X-Men and Spider-Man. Okay, fine. The series here are pretty good. I like the series. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Hellions series. It is surprising, though, this actually is one of the more shorter books. I believe this book was launched, the same time as Wolverine and X-Force. But this book was canceled at the end of 2021. They ended around the same time as the first line Marauders and Excalibur, which I'll get to more in that following video. But this is a series I did enjoy. Now, of course, also Wild Child. Now, the characters in this series, from what I can tell, are not really featured. It was basically a heavy part of the Immortal X-Men book, which I love that series. Really good. Sad. It's a shock, surprising it ended after only 10 issues. Oh, by the way, the guy who was part of the original Hellions, he was reunited with his teammates, and he kinds of brainwashes them. Yeah. Excuse me. So you're thinking, okay, what happens with a team after this series wraps up? Like I said, Nanny and Orphan are never seen again. But what about Kanan, aka Psylocke? She, of course, got moved over to Marauders. Yeah, Steve Orlando decided to move over to Marauders once he became the writer of that book. Okay. Alright, what about Orpmaker? Let's see. I think he got banished to the pit. As far as I get for Orphan Maker, I don't think he was ever seen ever again in the X-Men comics. Actually, no, he actually did come back in the Sabretooth book. Yeah, basically he's part of Sabretooth and the Exiles with Nanny. Havoc. Oh boy, he's still somewhat featured. Not as much as he used to be, but he is featured. And I'm thinking, okay, is there a book that he was featured in, right after this book wrapped up? Well, after Hellions ended, he got moved over to X-Men for a little bit. He also got involved with Judgment Day. He mostly was involved with Judgment Day and Dark Web stuff. That's mostly what he's been part of. That he just basically took part in crossovers. Okay, What about John Greycrow, aka Scalp Hunter? I haven't seen him mostly anything, but he hasn't featured very much since this book wrapped up. Well, he did pop up for a couple issues of Marauders, the Hellfire Gala one-shot. Actually, it was like basically 2 one-shots, issue Amazing Experiment, and that's pretty much been it for him. It's like his parents have been scarce. Wild Child, this character at one point was killed by Wolverine. How? Stabbed them with a Minoku blade. Same thing he killed. Well, he thought he killed Sabretooth, and I believe the other one was Omega Red. Yes, so after this book ended, Wild Child was featured once after this. Once. In an issue of Marvel Unlimited Infinity comic. In issue 38 of the series. Yep. Where he's under possession. So, yeah, he's virtually done nothing since this book ended. How about Empath, the one who's part of the Hellions? Like, this is a character who's not been featured very much at all in Marvel Comics. Not really, no. He popped up once after this. Once. In an annual for X-Men. By Gary Duggan. Yeah, from this current run of X-Men. That's been pretty much it for the guy. You're thinking, okay, how about Nanny? Nanny, I believe, is also featured in Sabretooth and the Exiles. Yeah, that's where pretty much she's featured. Is Sabretooth and the Exiles. Yep, so if you think about it, of all the members part of this team, the only member not really do very much is Wildchild. He's doing practically nothing. But if you think of like who's been the most active character since this book wrapped up, it's Kanan. Yep. She has been the most active character. It's like as soon as this book wrapped up, she was moved over to Marauders, which that's where she's been since then. Yep. Part of the Steve Orlando run for Marauders, which is interesting to say the least. Yep. Yeah, apparently when Steve Orlando took over the team, he made her part of the team. Not really sure exactly what was the purpose of putting her on the team, but I'll discuss more about that when I talk about the first trade that collects Steve Orlando's run for Marauders. But at least you can say Zeb Wells, I mean, these characters are still there. But out of all the characters, like I just said, the only character doing anything now is Psylocke. She's the only one. Most everyone else is practically doing nothing. It's like they appear very sporadically once this book wrapped up. But next Comic Corner, discussing another finale for another series. Well, you'll find in the next Comic Corner, which will be next video, okay? Next video. Bye.